Okay, this is going to be interesting. I've been biting my tongue on this, but finally, just have to put it out there. Trump has called India the tariff king again. He reposted a rant calling Indian migrants gangsters with laptops. He keeps publicly hyping up Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir, calling him his favorite field marshal. He knows exactly how that makes Indians feel. And the response from Delhi? Mostly silence. Or, when the public outrage gets too loud, a complete bland MEA statement that means absolutely nothing. Honestly, it's really hard to watch. But the more I sit with it, the more I realize something wild. As uncomfortable as the silence is, it might actually be the single most selfless and patriotic move the government could make right now. Because I think it is the only play on the board that does not blow up in India's face. Let me explain. Before we break this down, if you find yourself nodding along the way till the end of the video, please do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. It genuinely helps me to get more of these nerdy deep dives out into the world. My whole goal here is just to find people like you who actually want to think about these things critically. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into it. You know exactly what the frustration sounds like right now. Trump is out there publicly humiliating India every chance he gets, threatening India exports with 50% tariffs, openly cozying up to Pakistan military. And Modi ji, a leader whose entire brand is built on projecting strength, is just taking it, not hitting back. To a lot of Indians, this feels like the same old frustrating pattern. Friends everywhere with leverage nowhere. With the exception of Russia though, who actually stood with India when things got really rough. The demand from public is simple. Hit back, say something to defend the country's pride. It's a fair ask on the surface, but I honestly think that expectation completely misses the reality of the board. People are asking the move that feels satisfying, but not the move that is actually smart. Before we talk about why India is staying quiet, just look at the board right now. Next month, Trump is off to Beijing. He's sending his team to Islamabad. And the Quad Summit, the one forum India actually cares about, is downgraded. Trump isn't even going there. He's sending Marco Rubio instead. Yet somehow, he still expects India to be the main guy against China in South Asia. It makes zero sense. But let's forget what America wants, okay? Let's talk about what India needs from this relationship, because that's what is actually at stake here. The first, defense. India is in the final stages of a massive deal to build fighter jets in India locally. The real prize is not the hardware, it's actually the tech transfer up to 80%. America is handing over the top-tier technology they almost never share with anyone. So the question is, does it make sense for India to start a public fight with its biggest supplier when it's inches away from a military upgrade this big? I would say no. Second, the trade. Yes, India sells a lot more to US than it buys, but what's actually being sold here? Half of it is tech and medicine. American hospitals run on Indian generic drugs. Their companies run on Indian code and Indian coders. If Trump squeezes that part of the deal, regular Americans feel the pain instantly. The US public will do the complaining. India does not have to say a word. But the other half, leather, textiles, shrimp farming, the small factories with razor-thin margins, millions of working class jobs, when Trump slapped on that 50% tariff, those people got hit immediately, and they have zero safety net. The government knows this, and honestly, their silence right now is the proof that they are putting those workers ahead of their own PR. Third, sanctions. India bought the S-400 missile defense systems from Russia. Under CAATSA, that should trigger automatic US sanctions. It hasn't. India also runs the Chabahar port in Iran, which is an absolute minefield for sanctions. Washington has quietly looked the other way on both. This is massive. That tolerance is a choice America makes every single day. You do not pick a public fight with a country that is actively choosing not to punish you. Honestly, if you look back at India's history, none of this is actually new. This kind of strategic patience is basically the classic Indian playbook. Nehruji did it through the entire Cold War. Just stayed non-aligned, took the heat from both sides and kept the access to everyone. Indira did the same thing in 1971. Think about this. Richard Nixon literally sent an American aircraft carrier into Bay of Bengal to intimidate India during the war with Pakistan. The lady did not go to the podium to throw a tantrum. She just quietly leaned on a backup treaty she has signed months earlier. The US Navy had to turn back. India won the war and the Nixon threat just collapsed on its own. Vajpayee ji did the exact same thing in 1998. India tested the nukes and the US slammed India with massive sanctions. Did he shout back? No, he stayed completely dignified. He just let the talks run, waited for American corporations to realize they were losing money so that they would lobby their own government. 2 years later, most of the sanctions were just gone. It's not passivity, it's patience. The rule is simple. Don't make it an ego contest. Let the economic reality do the heavy lifting behind the closed doors. If you don't force the other party look weak by backing down in public, it's way easier to get what you want in private. And that's enough for India to achieve its own objectives. Delhi knows that. Going head to head with the most powerful man on the planet, who also happens to have a supersized ego, is a trap. That's a strategy with zero upside. Besides, India's fundamentals don't change because his mood does. 1.4 billion people, a massive economy sitting right next to China, these are permanent facts. Trump's presidency has an end date. India's geography doesn't. You want proof on how wild this gets? Last October, Ontario ran a TV ad criticizing tariffs using an old Ronald Reagan clip. Trump saw this, got so furious and blew up the entire US-Canada trade negotiations over a single Truth Social post. That is who India is dealing with right now. You can't out-argue that. In this game, being right has absolutely nothing to do with winning. The smartest play is to just not to enter the ring. Let the back channels do the work, wait it out, and then present the final outcome as the win. This is how Indian diplomacy has always worked at its best. Every time Trump says something wild, Indian Twitter and TV anchors completely lose their minds. They all start screaming the same thing. Why isn't Modi ji hitting back? I get it. Everyone wants that dopamine hit, the viral 10-second clip where their leader stands up to the bully. It's appealing, but that thrill costs the real things. It costs the defense agreements, it costs the trade deals, it costs the relationship that 1.4 billion people actually rely on. The high of the retweet would be ours. We would watch it, clip it, share it, and feel great for that day. But the actual price, that's what matters. That price gets paid by the most vulnerable hand-to-mouth workers in the country. People who have absolutely nothing to do with this political circus. It's the leather worker in Kanpur who gets laid off the second his factory loses its US orders. It's the women stitching shirts in Tirupur whose production line just goes dark for 6 weeks. It's a shrimp farmer in Kakinada watching his export prices crash overnight. It's a diamond polisher in Surat whose job simply disappears. It is who pays for the Twitter comeback. India is still lifting millions of people out of poverty. The infrastructure gap is still there. And on defense, India has the budget, but the technology and the modernization pipeline depends heavily on Western partnerships. That relationship isn't a nice to have, it is a critical one. You do not blow that up for a press conference flex. That's not wise. Listen, Trump is out of syllabus. He does not respond to diplomatic norms or institutions. He responds to ego and visible wins. He's a deal maker. So India plays the one register that actually works with him. Give him the optics, protect the substance. Say nothing that forces a public reply. India absorbs the insult without breaking. And in doing that, it proves that it's a reliable partner under pressure. That is worth more than any clever clapback we can come up with. Now, before anyone says Modi is just a pushover, look at what happens when the action is actually required and demanded. April 2025, Pahalgam attack. Nobody needs introduction to that one. 2 days later, Modi ji is on a stage in Bihar. He switches to English mid-speech so that whole world hears him and understands him clearly. He says it on camera. India will identify, trace and punish every terrorist and their backers beyond their imagination. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth. In doing so, he locked himself in. There is no off-ramp, no quiet climb down because US or anyone else tried to negotiate him down. 2 weeks later, Operation Sindoor happened. India hit the terror camps. Washington wasn't asked for permission. They were briefed while the operation was in progress. Or even take an example of Russia right now. India is in advanced talks to build Su-57 stealth fighters locally. Still buying Russian crude despite massive US pressure. The spokesperson of MEA said it on the record, India does not need anyone's permissions to buy Russian oil. This is not a behavior of a submissive leader. He just picks his fights carefully, which is wise to do, right? And here is the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Clapping back at Trump would actually be the easiest political move Modi ji could make today. Right now, his silence gives the opposition free hits. Every time Trump posts something ugly and the Delhi stays quiet, Rahul Gandhi ji gets to go on TV and call the government weak. Narendra surrender, we all know this. If Modi ji just fired back at Trump, he would own the news cycle. He would win that week every single time, but he doesn't. He lets the opposition score. He eats the domestic political damage week after week because the 10-year prize, the engine deals, the trades, the diaspora matters more than today's headline. Protecting the India of 2035 means taking the insult on the chin today, knowing you won't even be in the office to see the final payoff. To me, it's not weakness. That is the hardest form of patriotism there is. So next time you see a viral Trump clip and someone screaming for Modi ji to destroy him, ask yourself one question. Who actually pays for the moment when the cameras go off? I hope more people start seeing the silence for what it is. My take is, the silence is uncomfortable. I agree. I personally feel the same. But honestly, I don't see a smarter move on the board as of now. But prove me wrong. If you are advertising Delhi right now, what would you actually do differently? And remember, not what feels satisfying for a 10-second reel. What would you do knowing exactly what India needs out of this relationship for decades to come? Please go ahead and drop your playbook in the comments. I read every single one of them. And if you think I have earned it, please hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, dig deeper.